Hi everyone! In this video, we will sew our facial features onto our emoji pillows. Let's get started. You will need the 2 yellow circles that we cut out in class, as well as an assortment of different colored felts, a needle, a scissors, and of course an assortment of thread. I'm using what is called crochet thread because it is nice and strong. We need to begin by threading our needle. I'm going to simply pull off as much thread as I need. Usually about the length of your arm is a good place to start, and then snip it. I need to insert my thread through what is called the eye of the needle. This part can be a little bit tricky, and it took me quite a few tries. Sometimes the threads like to come apart. If this happens to you, you can just dip your thread in a little bit of water. If your thread continues to be a bit too frayed at the end to fit through the eye of your needle, you can also just pull out the string and then clip a little bit, leaving some fresh string at the start. To make sure your string stays on your needle, make sure to leave about a 2-inch tail left over after threading. Now we need to go to the opposite end of our thread and tie a knot. I'm going to simply wrap the thread around 2 fingers twice. I will end up with a loop once I slide the thread off my fingers, and I'll need to insert that little tail that's left over through the loop and pull. Going around my fingers twice creates a double knot, which will ensure that my thread doesn't accidentally pop through my felt later. After you've knotted the end, just snip off that tail, leaving just a little bit of string left over. Before we start sewing, however, we need to make the stencils for each piece of our emoji's face. I'm going to start by drawing out a mouth shape onto a piece of scrap paper. A little helpful tip for drawing and cutting out stencils for facial features is to make sure that they are symmetrical. To get a symmetrical feature, I simply fold it in half and then trim up the edges. Then I unfold and they're the same on both sides. Alright, I'll place that on my emoji. I think it looks good. Let's cut the felt. Now, I need to trace this stencil on black felt, so I'm going to trace it with a white colored pencil. If you're using a different color of felt, just a regular pencil or a Sharpie is fine. Now let's do a sloppy cut around my shape, and finally I can go back and trim up the edges. Make sure for this step you have relatively sharp scissors to ensure that your cutting is nice and clean. Finally, make sure that your felt is placed onto your emoji with the pencil lines facing down. Now with my camera in super speed mode, I'm going to draw and cut out the rest of my stencils. I opted for a silly winking face emoji. You could choose whatever emoji design you'd like, or even create your own. It's entirely up to you. Before I begin sewing, I like to place all of my cut pieces out on my emoji pillow. This just ensures that everything is the right shape, size, and design. You probably won't finish sewing on all your facial features in one class, so you can keep any unsewed parts in the plastic baggie that I give you. Setting out your pieces first also shows you which features overlap. I will need to first sew black, then red, then white for the mouth. For the eye, I'll sew white and then black. Alright, at long last, it is time to sew. I'll slow down in a second and show you how I'm making what we call running stitches to attach each piece of the face. Before that, however, I wanted to note that I'm not yet sewing together both of the yellow pieces of my emoji. By attaching the facial features first, I can ensure that I can flip my yellow felt over to the back side to get to any necessary areas. For the running stitch, which we'll use for our facial features, just poke your needle up through the back of your felt and then bring it back down through the front of your felt. Make sure that you're lining your needle up with your previously placed thread to keep each stitch nice and even. I'm making sure to pull nice and tight on my thread each time so that it locks in place. That knot that we added at the end of our thread earlier prevents the thread from coming back up through the felt. I'm going to make a few more practice running stitches here, and then we'll jump back to the emoji pillow with a finished running stitch. I'm running kind of low on string, so I'm going to knot this one off. I simply go back to my previous stitch and slide my needle through. I'm going to pull the thread through, making sure that tail doesn't get caught, and then loop my needle back around. I'll do this twice. Through my last stitch, pull, make a loop, and then pull my needle back through the loop. This creates a nice secure double knot. I'll then cut, leaving just a little bit of the tail. And I'm done, nice and secure. All right, now with my camera in super speed mode, I'm going to continue with those running stitches to adhere each facial feature to my emoji. This part takes a while, so be patient with yourself. In actuality, I spent about an hour and a half getting all these facial features onto my yellow felt. Of course, I also had to play with some cats during the course of sewing. Then, at long last, I was able to make my final knot on the back side of my felt. The front side of my emoji is complete. Now, we can transform this flat shape into a three-dimensional pillow. Tune into the next video to see how we'll do that. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.